Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
You can call me the Worm.
And I am Glacier.
Welcome to episode 246, Uncensored, 1997.
You'll never see it coming.
Which is crazy. It's like you just told me to keep my eyes out for it. Whatever it may be.
What is it?
It's it.
Is it? Yeah, maybe it's Glacier. First time we've seen him.
Or his opponent,
Oh, yeah.
Prince Iaukea. Something's coming. Hopefully we see it.
Yeah.
Somebody's coming.
So this is the third Uncensored, produced by WCW. It would take place on March 16th, 1997, from the North Charleston Coliseum in Charleston, South Carolina, with an attendance of 9,285 people.
Is this considered Flair country?
I mean, you'd think so.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's
You're in the Carolinas.
Just a little south of it. I mean,
yeah.
It's only about an hour and a half.
North Carolina, you know, they're close. They're closer, right on top of each other.
I'm sure if you yelled out "woo," you'd get a roaring response.
Absolutely. I just wasn't sure how technical Flair country was.
No,
I think I'd say whole.
I consider
Carolinas.
Carolinas,
Virginia,
obviously Atlanta or Georgia. Yeah, those are
the big ones.
That little elbow there is kind of the I almost said Carolina country. Flair country in my eyes.
I'd agree with that.
So we are in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, we are.
So Shane, did you do what you do?
I kind of think I did because I'm the only one that still has some left in front of me. So I'm going to say I did what I do.
Oh, yeah, that was wonderful.
Yes. I got on the interwebs to partake in this little culinary adventure around the globe that we've been doing for the last few years now. And here we are, Charleston, South Carolina. Been here before. I thought, what should I bring? Had Matt look up to see what I'd brought before because I couldn't remember because it's spread out so far apart from each other. And in the meantime, I just decided to do what I normally do and just look up what do people like to eat in South Carolina, what's the sandwich, all that stuff. And the first sandwich that popped up, it was a barbecue one. I think we've already done. I might be wrong, though.
Yeah, mustard-based barbecue, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Carolina vibes for sure.
But then it also said there is nothing more South Carolina than a fried bologna sandwich. It gave the basic description of white bread, a little mayonnaise or a little mustard, some yellow cheese, and fried bologna. Me being me, I had issues with bologna growing up. I shouldn't say I had issues with bologna growing up. I liked it too much growing up that once I hit a certain age, I never wanted to touch bologna again, ever.
Yeah, burnt yourself out.
I have issues with hot dogs for that same reason because, hot dog is just a rolled up bologna. Yeah. So I happened to find a recipe in Southern Living, and it was done up a little bit more than just your basic bologna. It has toasted white bread. It called for a Creole mustard, but they don't sell Creole mustard at Walmart Neighborhood Market, so I found one that was a horseradish mustard. It has some zesty bread and butter pickles, thick sliced bologna that I fried up in a little skillet. Frying it up just kind of releases a lot of fat. It releases a little bit of the saltiness, brings out the flavor a little more than just your typical cold slice of bologna.
Yeah. It's like after you've had fried bologna, you never want to eat a cold bologna sandwich again.
No.
It's a pretty it's such a huge
difference. Once I took a bite, I kind of remembered that I really did like them, and young me would have freaked out if somebody had put this in front of me because it has all this stuff on it. But I put a couple slices of just your basic American cheese, a thick slice of tomato, some shredded lettuce, and it's a winner.
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm not mad about it. I might have put a little bit too much mustard on there, but is that really even a thing? I'm a mustard guy, so...
Yeah.
Then I'm going to do what I do and take this bite on the microphone. Let me pull this piece of cheese over here. Here we go. Ready, set, go. Hell yeah.
Sounded like a good bite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Tasted like a good bite.
Well, something that would happen right around the same time as Uncensored, Howard Stern and his biopic, Private Parts, would hit the theater the week before.
Baba Booey.
You know, I've only ever seen parts of this on television.
Parts of Private Parts.
Only parts. I've only seen,
It's only the public parts.
Only the public parts of this film. But, I was a huge connoisseur of Howard Stern on E! As I was, like, in middle school, early high school. And, they did, it was dirty and funny. You got your whack pack and then, like, playing, throwing, honestly, one of a memorable segment was bringing prostitutes or strippers into the studio, and they'd, played a game where they threw bologna at their asses.
Perfect little tie in here.
Yeah, it's a perfect little tie. But yeah, so I watched that a lot. I never listened to it on the radio, never did the XM at all, but my Howard Stern consumption was mostly the E! Network at like 11 o'clock at night.
Same.
I definitely remember the Lord of the Anal Rings episodes.
I watched a little bit on E! I remember when the movie came out on video because I was working at Blockbuster, and it was a huge rental release. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest Howard Stern fan, but he slowly grew on me over time. It may have just been because the preview for the movie was constantly in the Blockbuster trailers that we had to watch all day long, all day, every day.
It's also one of those things, like, he's around long enough that, like, even if you, like, hate him, it's like, well, he's going to stick around, so I'll find the things about him that are charming. He's not going anywhere.
I don't believe in that method because I grew up in a household where Rush Limbaugh
was
always on, and it's like, nope, not even going to find anything remotely nice.
I mean, that's a little different. I mean, Howard Stern wasn't particularly political back then. He was just a shock jock. He was just like crass for the sake of being crass.
Yeah.
Which is a little different. But I appreciate a shock jock for sure, but I never I was never into any of the big ones while they were happening. Imus, Howard Stern, like Opie and Anthony. Like, I've listened to like clips of theirs over the years, but there was never a guy that was like, oh, that's my guy, and I listened to him like regularly. But I've listened to...
You weren't a Bubba and Love Sponge guy?
No, I didn't even know who he was until the Hogan thing. But, man.
And then once I found out he was a friend of Hogan's, I definitely didn't want to listen to him.
And like, there's a real good movie. I think it might be more, based on Imus, but Don Imus, but it's with Jeff Bridges, where he plays a shock jock, and
what the hell was
the Fisher
that
King.
There we go.
Yeah, Fisher King's real good, but that one's it's fictional, but obviously inspired by like Imus and Stern and whatnot, and it's a fantastical movie a little bit. I mean, it's Terry Gilliam, but I should watch Private Parts. It's probably only 90 minutes. I'd probably have a good time.
I mean, it's fun just because for the sheer fact that like Howard plays himself as a younger
guy.
Yeah,
and it's like Weird Al in a way.
Yeah, it does kind of come off as very Weird Al-esque.
Yeah, I've in my head the movie is
making fun of himself while
still like telling his story.
Telling the story. Yeah.
I'll have to give it a shot. Like I said, I've only ever caught parts of it like on cable back in the day, so I don't even know if the movie's very salacious. Like, I don't know if there's lots of breasts or nudity or anything like that.
There's not a whole lot of that.
But I guess it's
it's
mostly
his like his like. Up. I think it's PG-13.
Kind of his just like rise to like being a household name. I assume not the one where he was such a household name that he could get away with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is pre Girls on Sybians in the studio.
I do remember him being the first like male celebrity that I can recall talking about their disappointment in their junk.
Oh.
Because he was always like talking about how small he is, or yeah.
I don't know. He's got the energy of a guy that probably just has a hog. But
he could just be one of those small dogs that makes
the
a lot of noise.
Yeah. I mean, he has no reason to lie, but of course, nobody wants to hear him talk about if he's, this,
you're
this
rich
shock
and you
jock
have
guy.
a career and you have a hot wife.
Yeah. No, even if he has a big dick, it's more. It's better for
already
him
a Tommy Lee.
career-wise to say the opposite.
Tommy Lee had the market already on big dick celebrities, so I guess Howard Stern had to take the shocking alternative.
Whether it's true or not, he's got to say that he has a small penis.
I forgot on the sandwich there's also dill pickle chips.
Oh yeah, I guess it was nice added crunch. But enough about Howard Stern's penis.
Yes. No more Howard Stern's baloney.
Yeah. Maybe it's just in my head, but I assume a guy with a large nose also has a large penis. There's no reason to assume that.
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah. I haven't done the research.
Line up there. I've heard from the end of your thumb to your index finger, but then people also do that when they're talking about a big nose too. So who knows?
Yeah. I'm gonna consult Reddit later.
Well, also, guys, Merry Christmas.
Hey!
Happy holidays.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Unwrap those presents, guys.
Right.
Yeah, don't forget Happy Hanukkah for Howard Stern.
May your stockings be filled with much baloney.
Damn.
Well, let's talk some Uncensored.
Let's do it.
Let's get Uncensored.
Again,
kind of already have been.
Yeah, it's really all kind of lined up here with Howard Stern and the show being called Uncensored.
The logo comes on the screen before the narrator starts listing the matches for the night, with one of them saying that Prince Iaukea is the cruiserweight champion, but he's actually the television champion. And the reading of this narration isn't done live, so they could have edited it.
Totally could have, but somebody would have paid attention.
It's WCW. So.
And it also could have been done before the tape was produced, so it could have just be added to the home video release, but probably not.
I mean, I think it was
part
on
of
the show. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember if he ever becomes cruiserweight champion.
So Tony Schiavone welcomes us to the show, joined by Dusty Rhodes and Bobby the Brain Heenan. And they discuss the stakes of the main event, with Dusty saying the NWO has a lot to lose, while the Brain says that they have their backs against the wall.
By the way, Dennis Rodman is in the building. They let us know before the first match. I just want everybody at home to know that
he's here.
That's right.
Yeah. The worm has turned.
Oh, the glory days of Dennis Rodman.
Bischoff is suspended at the moment.
And we'll talk more about that later.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, just, they said it off the top, so I want to make sure everybody's informed.
So we go to our first match. Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero in a no DQ match for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. Also like to welcome back Randy Anderson.
Hey, Pee-wee.
Who had been reinstated by Turner Sports president Harvey Schiller, who also did some other things since our last WCW show. That goes along with the Bischoff stuff, which we'll talk about later. And the two men exchange aggressive holds, takedowns, punches, slaps, and stomps to begin, until Malenko nails a vertical suplex and a back suplex. Dean locks on a half crab as we are sent backstage to see Rick Steiner has been laid out, with the outsiders and six hanging about, wondering what happened to him.
Who could it have been?
He never saw it coming.
Back to the match, Malenko tosses Eddie over the ropes to the floor and grabs the title belt, smashing it across Guerrero's back once they returned inside the squared circle. Dean with multiple clotheslines, only for Eddie to duck and deliver a Uranagi, followed by a dropkick to the knee. And Guerrero continues to work the leg with axe handles and a slingshot somersault senton before applying an STF. We then go to split screen to see Steiner being put on a stretcher, with the NWO continuing to look on, with Tony saying that it looks like Rick is out of our main event.
No. I mean, if I was them, I would have just left completely. You don't stick around at the scene of the crime.
Yeah, old Scott Hall back there. Can't remember what all he was saying exactly, but he's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
He had it coming.
I mean, yeah, these guys, they're too big for their britches.
I don't know what happened, man.
So back to the action where the fight has made it to the floor with Malenko being run into several guardrails before Eddie dropkicks the knee into a ring post. In the ring, Guerrero locks on a figure 4, blatantly using the ropes as he shouts out he is going to break Dean's leg.
Eddie's starting to cheat.
Malenko thumbs the eyes of Eddie to break the hold, but Guerrero fires right back with European uppercuts and a hip attack, followed by another slingshot somersault senton from the apron, which Dean avoids by rolling out to the floor, only for Eddie to hit a baseball slide to send Malenko crashing into the guardrail. Guerrero rolls back in to fly out with a top rope crossbody, but again Dean avoids, sending Eddie crashing into the steel, before Malenko press slams him onto the guardrail once more. And they return to the ring, where Dean works a Fujiwara armbar, only for Guerrero to escape and nail a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, followed by a powerbomb with a bridge for a 2 count. Malenko reverses a whip and goes for a tilt-a-whirl himself, but Eddie blocks, only for Dean to go low to counter, followed by knocking Guerrero down, which sends Eddie's boot into Malenko's 1001st hold, allowing Guerrero to roll him up for a near fall. Now once back to their feet, Eddie charges in with Dean catching him with a power slam before heading up top for a frog splash for a 2 count, as Malenko lifts him off the mat.
Ooh, love it.
Guerrero counters a power bomb with the head scissors, but then runs into another power slam for a near fall. And the 2 trade pin attempts when Eddie runs the ropes and leaps into a wheelbarrow roll, only for Dean to counter it into a release German suplex for a 2 count. And Malenko charges at Guerrero in a corner, but Eddie gets a knee up before delivering a tornado DDT and then applying the Texas cloverleaf. When all of a sudden, Six would come down to ringside with his camcorder in hand to steal the United States belt, forcing Guerrero to release the hold and grab the kid by the hair. And Six tries to hit Eddie with the camcorder as they both tug at the title, but the kid misses, and the camera lands in the ring, allowing Dean to pick it up and smash Guerrero over the head with it for the pin and the win. And new!
Never saw it coming.
I know. What's it going to do? It's just going to, make Eddie feel even more slighted.
I mean, it's a no DQ match, though, so... Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's uncensored.
Yeah.
Dirt.
And I could see, doing some dirty stuff, but the camera.
Yeah.
The camera's a little much.
You gotta roll with the punches, man. You gotta use what's given to you in this sense.
I do love that Dean, looks at it. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize what I hit him with.
We got Mean Gene Okerlund in the back, shilling the hotline, saying someone is history from the WCW. Call now to find out who it is.
And see, I sat there while watching this show trying to think of who debuted around this time. I can't remember. I know, yeah. Who knows? We'll have to just pay attention in the future.
Yep. Gene then welcomes in Roddy Piper, who asks if Okerlund is ribbing him, that he can't believe he has to beat all these men to get Hogan in a cage, before also accusing Dennis Rodman of trying to get into his kilt. And Roddy starts complaining that he got the Horseman B team instead of Flair and Arn, that he doesn't even know what a Horseman even is, as Benoit, Jarrett, and Mongo arrive. And Piper continues to make fun of them until Double J says the Horsemen are unified tonight. But Roddy's skeptical, before McMichael calls out Luger for dropping the ball at Fall Brawl. Piper then questions the Crippler, thinking he's too cold, that he needs some razzmatazz, only for Benoit to tell Roddy that he made the right choice in choosing the Horsemen, which seems to convince Piper.
Yeah, I mean, this is great Piper promo.
It felt like a Survivor Series promo from one of the teams of 4. Just I mean, I've seen
just a little bit better.
We've seen Piper do them a couple times already in the past, so that's what it felt like to me. The vibe of it all, just Benoit standing there with a cheesy smile on his face at times, but being called too cold.
Yeah, and it's like
some razzmatazz.
It's just funny because it's like, I don't know about you guys, and then Benoit just gives him like one compliment, and he's like, you know what, you guys are all right. And I mean, the kilt line is pretty great. He's like, Rodman wants to try out my kilt. Problem is, he wants me in it, and it's just like, yeah, it's so simple and smart, and it's there's a reason that Roddy's one of the best to do it, because it doesn't even have to make sense. It's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to our second match. Psychosis versus Ultimo Dragon with Sonny Onoo. And Mike today joins the commentary table for this one as we get a feeling out process to start until Ultimo hits a combo of kicks and starts working the leg when Psychosis fires up with a drop kick for a 2 count. And Dragon responds with an enziguri before locking on a camel clutch, only for Psychosis to reverse it into one of his own, followed by a top rope leg drop for a near fall and a second rope elbow drop for a 2 count. Ultimo then nails a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and applies a sleeper, which Psychosis uses a jawbreaker to escape and goes for a sleeper of his own. But Dragon counters into a back suplex. Ultimo charges into a big boot, allowing Psychosis to leap off the top rope with a spinning heel kick that sends Dragon out to the floor. So Psychosis then flies out with a tope con hilo, followed by a slingshot leg drop as well. Ultimo makes his way back to the apron, where Psychosis clotheslines him down, but then charges in, only to be launched by Dragon's feet onto the floor.
This that leg drop to the floor was such a scary landing. I thought Psychosis almost like just snapped his ankle in half.
Ultimo runs Psychosis into a guardrail, followed by a handspring back elbow and an Asai moonsault, before Onoo comes over to get a few kicks in as well. Now back in the ring, Dragon with a top rope moonsault for a near fall, but then telegraphs a back body drop. So Psychosis goes for a powerbomb, which is countered into a hurricanrana for a 2 count. And Ultimo continues with a Law Magistral Cradle for a near fall, before placing Psychosis on a turnbuckle, with Dragon looking to hit a Super Frankensteiner. But Psychosis wants to counter it into a superplex, only for Ultimo to fight in mid-air to cause both men to faceplant on the mat.
This is the kind of like match that has like almost the right amount of slop to it. Mm-hmm. It's like at the beginning they do some like catch stuff that's a little sloppy, but then it's the kind of sloppy that after that kind of makes it feel like a real fight.
Yeah, I was thinking similar to that because Ultimo usually is spot on everything to where it just looks too picture perfect at times to where how are you even a real person?
Yeah.
And this adds like, that little sprinkle of reality to it
and then, like I feel like we've seen Psychosis and Ultimo Dragon wrestle before.
We've seen
Ultimo
and Ray, and we've seen Ray and Psychosis, but I don't remember if we've seen Ultimo.
I don't think we've seen these two.
Yeah, they just
if we have, it might have been on some Nitro, and it was probably like a 5-minute match.
Yeah, they probably just haven't spent as much time in the ring with each other. We both know they can go.
Yes.
They both attempt spinning heel kicks to no avail, but Dragon's up first to body slam Psychosis and head up top, only for Psychosis to meet him there to nail a hurricanrana for a 2 count, which Ultimo then rolls through for a near fall as well. Psychosis then leaps onto Dragon's shoulders for another Rana, but Ultimo counters it into a running Liger Bomb, followed by a Tornado DDT and a Tiger Suplex for the pin and the win. So we go to Mean Gene in the aisle, and he promises uncensored material on the hotline before welcoming Diamond Dallas Page. And Gene says that Savage won't acknowledge DDP before asking if he is subbing for Rick Steiner in the main event, only for Page to just ignore the question because he's ticked that Macho Man has ignored his challenge, telling him, "If you're that much of a savage, snap into this." Bang!
Oh, snap. Snap into this.
I mean, the diamond cutter, like, bang thing is so silly, but
It's perfect.
like, it's perfect. Like, Diamond Dallas Page, he sells it, does the right thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is years before we get the Too Sweet. I feel like is not over, like, spammed or anything at this point. I feel like it's kind of a later thing where people start doing it and whatnot, but this is early into the bang. Anybody can do a middle finger, but we haven't got to the suck it yet. And I feel like as a kid, the diamond cutter bang and then the suck it were the big things. I don't remember ever doing like a Too Sweet in like middle school.
No.
I think it was a reclamation project.
Macho Man then interrupts from the announce table, apologizing that he misjudged DDP, saying that he found an issue of Playboy at the airport, which included Paige's wife, Kimberly, as Miss Elizabeth turns it around to show us all how they defaced the centerfold.
I mean, might be on pay-per-view, but you're going to get some complaints if you showed it all.
Kimberly then emerges from the back with spray paint all over her dress, forcing DDP to check on her and allowing Savage to attack him. And Macho spray paints Paige's back, mocking him until Kim tries to stop him, only for them to paint her again, as Mean Gene complains that everyone is just standing around and letting this happen.
I mean, personal issues, draw money.
Yep.
And this is also done pretty upsetting, where they like are teasing Diamond Dallas Page for a minute, and then Kimberly comes out. So it's like they already like terrorized her, and like she's been back there and like is coming out now like crying and looking for him. So it's like pretty effective and upsetting, even though we know that it's a planned television angle. So we don't know what they did to her, but yeah, the fact that it happened off screen makes it that much more upsetting. If we saw them like spray paint her in the back or like, terrorize her, it's like theater of the mind makes it creepier and more upsetting.
So WCW got the first woman in wrestling in Playboy, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this.
But she was already a fitness model.
Yeah.
So like,
I
don't think she got in because
she wasn't on the level of Sable and
she
China.
She didn't get in because she was a
WCW.
part of WCW. She got in because she's just hot.
Good. Yeah, she's a fitness model, and they paid well. Whereas like with the WWF Attitude Era, they were probably leveraging for somebody to do it because they wanted Sonny to do it originally first, and she chose not to.
Boy, how life may have been different for her had she gone for it. Who knows?
Who knows?
She just would have had more money for drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say best of luck to her, but she kind of took it too far when she killed somebody.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, if anything, it would have just put her behind a different wheel at a different time.
Yeah, who knows?
So we go to our third match. Mortis with James Vandenberg versus Glacier in a martial arts match.
Mortal Kombat!
So the story behind this match was that Glacier had been on a winning streak when Vandenberg would arrive, calling himself a collector of oddities. So he found a pit fighter from Malaysia who had a past with Glacier. And this all played out on WCW Saturday Night.
Oh, yeah.
So literally,
nobody saw it.
No one saw it.
Yeah. And the people that did see it probably feel like...
don't remember it because they were 9.
Yeah, or they just are they're kids who's like probably just, stayed up late and watched wrestling and probably didn't have pay-per-view money.
Mm-mm.
So we haven't seen Mortis since World War III, 95, episode 173, as Chris Kanyon.
Oh, I should have known that he's Chris Kanyon.
Yeah.
There's no one better. And Vandenberg will be better known as the Sinister Minister when he gets to ECW. While this is also our first Glacier match that we've seen, even though we saw the ads for him all the way back in early April of 96.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, it's like they're definitely doing Mortal Kombat here. like 110%.
Oh, yeah.
But
Totally.
it's just funny. It's like, okay, well, I guess Mortal Kombat just stays hot because like Mortal Kombat 3 is 95, and there's like the trilogy game, but they just keep crapping out. But Mortal Kombat 4 is 97. I don't know if it's out.
And you had Mortal Kombat movies as well around this time.
Yeah, the first movie I think might be 96, but yeah. Oh gosh, they made too many Mortal Kombat. The first movie's 95, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely on videotape.
95, another one in 97 or something like that. Plus you had Street Fighter 2 or something.
Yeah, it
like
was Street
that.
Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But yeah, first Mortal Kombat movie, pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, not so sick.
Nope.
So our two competitors trade kicks when Mortis spits at Glacier. So the cold one nails a hip toss, more kicks, and a back body drop. Mortis retaliates with right hands and kicks of his own, but Glacier comes right back with more strikes and a whip to the ropes, trying for a clothesline, only for Mortis to duck and slide out to the apron to gloat. Now Glacier just kicks him off into the guardrail and flies out of the ring with a slingshot pescado, before also delivering a vertical suplex. And Glacier rolls Mortis in and makes a cover, only for Vandenberg to pull him off. So the cold one begins to stalk around the ring after James, only for Mortis to drill him with a baseball slide to take control.
And I do love that they picked like one of the major bad guys in Mortal Kombat. They just made him Shao Kahn, and it's like, oh well, everybody loves Sub-Zero.
Mortis would ram Glacier into a guardrail, followed by dropping him headfirst onto the apron, before returning to the ring with a slingshot lariat. Mortis with a rocker dropper for a 2 count. Tries for another, but Glacier counters it into a powerbomb.
Damn, Marty couldn't even get the gig of Mortis, huh?
I don't think he's big enough.
Cold One continues with some strikes, a tilt-a-whirl slam, and a front kick for a near fall, but runs into a roundhouse kick from Mortis for a 2 count. And Mortis heads up top, only for Glacier to fall into the ropes, causing him to crotch himself and allowing the Cold One to climb up and nail a superplex for a near fall. And Glacier leaps off the top rope with a single sledge, but he gets caught by Mortis for a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. The Cold One hits a jawbreaker before heading up top again, missing another single sledge as Mortis moves, rolling to the other corner to leap up and off with a crossbody for a near fall. And Glacier goes for the cryonic kick, only for Mortis to pull the ref into the way. But the Cold One has self-control and doesn't knock the ref out.
It's nice to see that because as soon as somebody pulls the ref in the way, you would just think that there's going to be a ref bump. Sometimes it's nice when a guy has the foresight or actually stops short because they can't always happen.
Glacier then yanks the ref out of the way, only to turn right into a super kick from Mortis for a 2 count. And Vandenberg jumps on the apron, holding Glacier, but the Cold One avoids and delivers the cryonic kick for the pin and the win.
And Glacier is still undefeated. I actually enjoyed this match way more than I expected. And I thought that Mortis might win. Ref bump doesn't happen, he moves him, hits the kick, and it was a 2 count. I thought maybe he would pin him. They gave both guys big entrances, and one of these guys I haven't seen before, one of them is undefeated. Mortis could have, I don't know, gotten over, but it would have been a big rub for him to, a big rub in relation to what this actually is, if he pinned him. And I get it, neither man has any charisma, so they put him in a fucking mask or whatever, but I think in ring it was much better than silly gimmicks we've seen.
Post-match, James distracts Glacier while Mortis grabs his doll head on a stick to clock the Cold One from behind.
Put the heat on him.
Vandenberg then turns and starts calling out someone from the back. And it's another guy in Mortal Kombat looking gear.
Now we've gone too far.
Wearing a helmet, but he takes it off, and it's... no one knows his name.
Yep. I was like, shit. Guys, I don't know who it is.
But I can tell you that it's the former Atom Bomb, who we haven't seen since In Your House 1, episode 151.
Oh, wow.
Damn, it's been a while.
Yeah, In Your House 1. We're at In Your House 13 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mystery Man climbs in the ring to team with Mortis to beat down Glacier before hitting a Uranagi.
Say those special words to me. This is the last time. No.
We'll see. Maybe this character.
Of Glacier, no.
Oh, of Glacier.
Oh, I forgot until I watched this match. I'm glad you enjoyed the match because the match was made for people to enjoy. But
yeah,
I remember being younger when this was on. I mean, I say younger. I was 19, almost 20 years old. But just watching him do his little martial arts stuff in the ring where he's, doing his karate chops and going through the motions and everything because he's this Mr. Martial Arts, and it was just corny, cheesy.
I'm not saying that this is great or whatever. I'm just saying that my expectations were so low, and I think that this was
that it wasn't disappointing.
And some of the logic was nice, and then they.
I mean, the thing is, Chris Canyon's a good wrestler.
Yeah.
So.
And they jumped the shark when the next guy came out, and when Atom Bomb came out, it's we didn't need that.
Yep.
I was ready for Glacier Mortis 2.
Don't spew all of your wrath.
Yes.
Save some of it. I'll hold on some of it.
Yeah.
Because we'll definitely see him again.
It definitely went from, just your average Street Fighter thing to Big Trouble Little China. Let the lights flicker and here comes somebody else.
Yeah.
Tony then sends us to footage of the Outsiders causing the Steiners to have a car crash.
Oh, just a little bit.
And we see Six is filming the carnage on his camcorder as they bump their cars before pulling up next to them. And Scott is throwing trash at the Outsiders while Rick yells at him when the NWO swerves, causing the Steiners to flip over a ditch.
It's fucking wild, and it's a really good edit. And I couldn't believe when the car flipped. I was like, oh yeah, they'll run him into a hay bale or something, some Dukes of Hazzard shit. But no,
the car
fucking flips. Yeah, and like I said, the edit is great. It's it's pretty impressive little segment, but it's pretty fucked up, and I did not expect it to look that good. Because this is the same show where on the first Uncensored we got the wrestle in the back of an 18-wheeler match.
Yeah, you get fired for bleeding.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
I'm going to put you in this shitty situation here, but because you made yourself bleed, fired.
Yeah, it's we're fighting an 18-wheeler. What is the chances that I don't, hit something weird and start bleeding?
Go up north and make some money, you stupid, sad son of a bitch.
So we go to our fourth match. Buff Bagwell versus Scotty Riggs in a strap match.
Woo!
Because everyone knows that's what this feud needed.
Exactly.
Yeah, everyone knows that this feud needed to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And Bagwell says during his entrance that he doesn't care if he wins. He just wants to beat up Scotty. Well, glad we care.
Yeah.
So Riggs runs down to the ring, sending Buff scurrying out to the floor. But once he returns, the ref gets both men hooked up, only for Scotty to just start whipping away, again sending Bagwell out to the floor. Back in, Buff with strikes, clotheslines, and choking with the strap, before hitting a body slam and heading up top. Only for Riggs to yank on the strap, causing Bagwell to fall and crotch himself, followed by Scotty nailing a superplex. More strap shots by Riggs, sending Buff trying to regroup on the floor, only for Scotty to follow out and pull Bagwell into a ring post.
Posted.
Back inside, the two take turns choking each other before Buff's stuff gets its strap yanked into it. Followed by a drop kick, allowing Riggs to pull him around the ring for 1, 2, only for Bagwell to hold onto the ropes to stop the count. Scotty then hits a 10 count of mounted punches, but Buff hotshots Riggs onto the top turnbuckle before going back to whipping him with the strap.
Ouch.
Now Bagwell starts to make his way around the ring, dragging Scotty by the throat to get 2 corners, but Riggs slows the momentum, only for Buff to fire back with an atomic drop and a strap-aided clothesline. And Bagwell treats Scotty like a puppet to do the American male's overhead head clapping, but Riggs mule kicks to escape, only for Buff to respond with a double axe handle and chokes before going for a pin, which the ref reminds him, that's not how you win.
No.
And Bagwell shoves Randy Anderson, but the ref just stands up for himself, shoving Buff right back.
Randy Anderson, most over guy in this match.
Bagwell returns to his attack on Scotty with a body slam and attempts a blockbuster, but Riggs ducks and gets a big boot up on the charging Bagwell before nailing multiple clotheslines. Scotty whips away in frustration, delivers a powerbomb, and heads up top for a missile dropkick before making his way to 1, 2, 3 corners. He reaches out for the 4th, but Buff hooks the ropes to stop the count. Riggs charges at Bagwell, only to be back body dropped over the ropes, allowing Buff to hang him with the strap.
Uh-oh.
When he flies out, his back just hits the corner of that apron, and I was like, oh, yeah.
It's the hardest part of the ring, you know.
I know, especially that edge.
Scotty ends up passing out, allowing Bagwell to make his way around the ring, tapping all 4 corners for the win.
Oh, don't forget that Bagwell hits the last buck with his ass. Does it even count as a win?
At least it was different.
It was a little different, and it wasn't too long.
Yeah, the strap stayed on.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did notice was 47 minutes into this show is when the second match ended. So, like, first 2 matches pretty long, and of course they're doing a little bit more promo for a pay-per-view show. There's a little bit more promo involved. This was the short match on our show, and I won't complain about that.
Mm-mm.
Hogan, Savage, and the Outsiders are hanging out in the back, and they're bragging about their jet and Dennis Rodman, while Macho continues to look at Kimberly's Playboy before saying he has an itch in his belt.
Wow.
I do love, yeah. Like, Hogan says that Rodman taught him some new tricks, which, like, they're talking about, like, sex stuff, and it just sounds like creepy, like, old men at, like, in, like, a garage filled with, like, Snap-on Tools posters of girls with, like, large wrenches and stuff. And it's like, oh, these guys are just making up stupid lies. It's, yeah, they just sound like the 40-year-old virgin, like a line that Steve Pro would have in the 40-year-old virgin. He's like, yeah, he taught me some new tricks, man. It's like, gross. Why are you guys talking about that stuff?
Hogan 15 years from then is going to have a real issue with Hogan in 97, apparently.
Nash says that they aren't mad at Piper's crew, but they will beat them up bad. While Hall starts talking about skirts, asking what Dennis is wearing tonight. Will it be a wedding dress? With Savage wanting to know if it will be a miracle bra, before they all joke about Kimberly's assets.
I mean, it's NWO standard fare.
Yep. So we go to our 5th match. Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray, with Sister Sherri, versus Public Enemy of Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge in a Texas Tornado match.
No tag, garbage.
So this was actually supposed to be Mongo and Jarrett instead of Harlem Heat, but they got upgraded to the main event.
I mean, I would much rather see Heat. I know we've seen Heat and Public Enemy a million times, but Jarrett and Mongo doing trash stuff with Public Enemy sounds like a way worse than Harlem Heat doing it. Because we know they can at least do it. I don't know that Mongo can do it. And Jarrett's not the kind of guy I want to see with anything. I don't even want to see the guitar necessarily.
So both teams, including Sherri, just start going after each other with trash cans, lids, frying pans, and toilet seats.
Plunder, baby.
Making me check to see if we were back in Philly. But
No.
we're in Charleston.
Yeah, we're in Charleston.
It's plundering time.
Booker with a scissor kick for a 2 count on Johnny, while Stevie throws Rock into the steel steps. Grunge retaliates with a swinging neckbreaker and starts to dance, only for Stevie Ray to smash a lid over his head, followed by Rocky using a metal sheet across Stevie's head. And Booker's knocked loopy by a trash can shot from Johnny, with Rhodes yelling, "He knocked his old tired ass out!"
I mean, Dusty gets such a kick out of this that he's like earnestly laughing, and it turns the commentary table into just like a laugh riot.
I'm going to tell you right now, Dusty's the only reason why this match is tolerable.
Yeah, because he gets such a kick out of it that everybody else can't help but like it's just like, you know, at like a slumber party where somebody does something stupid or it's a well-timed fart and everybody just like falls into tears, but it's the commentary table doing it. And sometimes Dusty can be a little overbearing on commentary, but here he just brought the charm, and it was cute to see these guys just kind of have a good time watching something that they didn't care about.
Ain't nobody better, baby.
Canyon.
That was his like catchphrase.
Yeah. No one's better than Canyon.
Baby.
Sherri uses a trash can to hit Grunge, but she gets Stevie as well, causing both of them to stumble backwards, as Rock makes a cover in the ring after choking with a toilet lid. And Sherri jumps on Johnny's back to slow him down when Rocco makes his way out to throw Stevie Ray into the front row. But Booker T comes flying off the apron with a double axe handle. Everybody's brawling on the floor when Public Enemy places a trash can over Booker's head and starts to punch it, with Dusty saying he used to do that to his little brother. And Booker T fights back with a hook kick when Sherri hits Rock with a cookie sheet, causing Rhodes to scream out, "She knocked the hair off his head!" And Booker rolls Rocco back in the ring before leaping in with a double axe handle, but Rock catches him in the gut, followed by a pizza pan over the head for a near fall. And Rocco goes for a rope walk axe handle, but Booker T kicks the ropes, causing Rock to crouch himself and fall out to the floor. Everybody begins brawling away until Booker brings Grunge back in for a pin, only for Rocco to hit him over the head with a cookie sheet to break it up. But Stevie Ray retaliates with cookie sheet shots of his own when Rock responds with a low blow that gets Dusty howling once again. And the crowd starts chanting for tables, which there just so happens to be one set up at ringside, where everyone makes their way to the floor to brawl some more until they're able to lay out Johnny. And Harlem Heat rolls Rocco into the ring, with Booker headed up top for a rocket launcher for a near fall, followed by Booker T missing a leg lariat, causing him to crotch himself on the ropes. And Rock clotheslines him down to the floor, while Sherri jumps on Johnny's back, only for him to ram her into the guardrail to escape. Grunge then places Stevie on the table, with Johnny climbing to the apron, when Rocco leaps over the ropes with a senton onto Grunge to land them on top of Stevie Ray and through the table.
And it's one of the cleanest and most intense table breaks I think we've seen. Also, I noticed that this table had tape across it, and I think it was like heavily gimmicked. Like it was like the wood was like thinner and probably scored, and like with all that weight going through it, it just fucking blistered.
Probably after the Benoit Taskmaster incident from the last show, they were like,
very good point.
Yeah,
it's got to break.
We got to make sure these tables break.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, well, with those three guys, probably would have broke any table, but you know, there was a really great moment a little bit before this where I believe it was either Rocco or Grunge. They duck a trash can shot or a cookie sheet shot or whatever from Sherri, and she accidentally hits Stevie Ray. But Stevie Ray, like the large boss that he is, just like, she's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry," and he's like, "Don't even worry about it." And just like, yeah, and it's like, oh, that's pretty great. It makes him look like a badass. He's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I know it was an accident.
And just like bend your head down, like, do it again.
Yeah, it was almost like refreshing to see, because a lot of the time it's like, oh, that would lead to dissension that might, you know, cause them to lose the match later. But Stevie Ray was like, fuck it, baby, it's all right.
Rock makes his way back into the ring to fight with Booker when the Horsemen arrive at ringside. And as Rocco climbs to the top turnbuckle, Mongo jumps in the ring and smashes the briefcase across his back, allowing Booker T to climb up and deliver the Harlem Hangover for the pin and the win.
I wasn't expecting the Horseman, but I guess I should have.
I mean,
yeah.
Once you found out that they were supposed to be in the match,
yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, Mongo and Jarrett have been playing around in the tag team.
Yeah.
So it checks out, but...
We go to the back. Mean Gene's there with Team WCW. And Scott Steiner says he's never seen Rick taken out in an ambulance, but knows he'll return, before saying this gives him an incentive to beat the NWO to a pulp. The Giant then promises to do some spring cleaning, saying the NWO will be dizzy with all the suplexes that the Steiners do, followed that he's going to be chokeslamming left and right. And Luger's sick of the lack of respect for authority, society, and tradition by the NWO, before saying the adversity makes his team stronger. But the time for words is done. It's time for action.
It's kind of a nice little team. We're missing a Steiner, but the Steiners with Lex and the Giant, I don't hate it as far as, representing WCW.
So we go to our sixth match. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Prince Iaukea for the WCW World Television Championship. Mike today joins the commentators for this match. Because,
somebody's got to talk about these
cruiserweights.
Yeah, it's because Rey's in it, not because Prince Iaukea is.
And we get some back and forth action until the Prince nails a Samoan drop and a springboard splash, only for Mysterio to get his knees up. And Rey hot shots Iaukea across the top rope and delivers a springboard somersault senton, as Tenay explains that normally matches for this belt have a 10-minute time limit, but it's been upped to 15 for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, normally they're working within the confines of television, but here they've got more time.
And the Prince gathers Mysterio into a razor's edge type position, going for the Splash Mountain, but Rey counters it into a Hurricanrana for a 2 count, followed by a tilt-a-whirl head scissors that sends Iaukea out to the floor, where Mysterio wipes him out with a slingshot somersault plancha. Back in the ring, Rey goes for a rocker dropper, but the Prince counters it into a slingshot powerbomb, followed by a baseball slide to send Mysterio out to the floor. Iaukea with a springboard plancha out onto Rey, tosses him into a guardrail, but then tries to leap off the steel with a crossbody, only for Mysterio to avoid and roll the Prince back in to hit a springboard split-legged moonsault for a near fall. A splash in a corner by Rey, followed by a bulldog for a 2 count, before locking on a head scissors to wear down Iaukea. And Mysterio continues the attack with a quebrada for a near fall, followed by a sunset flip powerbomb for a 2 count and a dropkick. Rey then heads up top for a senton, only for the Prince to move and take over with a flash leg drop and a Northern Lights suplex for a near fall. They start running the ropes when Mysterio goes for a Rana, but Iaukea catches him and dumps him with a powerbomb for a near fall. And the Prince goes out to the apron to springboard back in with a dropkick, but Rey meets him in midair with a dropkick.
Love to see it. Also, the crowd's not into this, but I think this is pretty good. Iaukea has gotten noticeably better, and you even get a boring chant here. It is what it is.
A headbutt to the gut from Iaukea, sending Mysterio out to the floor, following out with a double axe handle. Now back in the ring, the Prince is in control with another flash leg drop until they start running the ropes, when both men would go for drop kicks that lets everyone know that they love the Acclaimed.
They scissored their legs.
Rey with the head scissors takedown, leaps onto Iaukea shoulders for a victory roll that gets a near fall, when the Prince would roll back on top for a 2 count. They then fight over a waistlock with Iaukea rolling up Mysterio for a near fall, before whipping him to a corner where Rey leaps up and off with a corkscrew moonsault for the pin. And no, the bell rings because the time limit is up. Mysterio asks for the mic to ask the Prince for more time, with Iaukea granting it. So the ref restarts the match. And the two men shake hands, followed by Ray nailing some chops, a hip toss, and a springboard gamenguri, before heading to the apron to leap back in with a springboard leg drop for a near fall. Mysterio's whip is reversed, but he avoids the Prince's charge into a corner, setting him up on the top turnbuckle and delivering a head scissors. Ray then leaps in from the apron with a springboard hurricanrana, but Iaukea rolls through for the pin and the win. And the match still didn't go 15 minutes.
Nope. That's what I was expecting it to.
Which is funny too, because I was like, oh, it's also a bit long, and it didn't even go 15 minutes. And I don't think it was bad.
No,
it just felt like it drug on just.
Yeah, it's
a little bit too long.
Yeah, and it's like I understand what they're doing here with like Ray being like, yeah, this is a guy, and then losing. And it's like, whoa, they put a belt on Iaukea, but like nobody really cares yet. And he is not terrible, and he's not embarrassing himself by any means. It's just because you tell me that he's good doesn't mean doesn't mean I have to cheer for him, kind of thing.
Tony then sends us to a commercial for Spring Stampede, where we see the four horsemen on horses, dressed as cowboys, having a standoff in the street. But Flair tells them to stand united as they ride off into the sunset.
Man, could you imagine like a low-budget Western starring the Four Horsemen? Like a straight-to-video, 90-minute.
I'd watch it.
It would be so good. It'd be so bad and good. Just with the production of a WCW cartoony promo. Like, this is a little different because, it's a promo for the show, but it's not like the Halloween havocs of like 91 or 92 or whatever, or like the beach blast, like explosion of the boat and whatnot. But man, just like trauma, but without the violence or gratuity.
So we go to our seventh match. Team Piper of Chris Benoit, Jeff Jarrett, Steve Mongo McMichael, and Roddy Piper.
One of these men is not like the other.
Versus Team NWO, Scott Hall, Macho Man Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, and Hollywood Hulk Hogan, with Dennis Rodman. Versus Team WCW of the Giant, Lex Luger, and Scott Steiner in a triangle elimination match. And Michael Buffer makes our announcements. So let's get ready to let everyone know we haven't seen you since Starrcade 96, episode 232.
Wow. It's funny that they got Buffer for this. Like maybe they're like, well, we got Rodman. We'll bring Buffer in. It's like, okay. Rodman's not in the match, but okay.
He also says this may change the history of professional wrestling, while also explaining the rules. One member from each team begins the match and fights for 5 minutes. Then a participant from each team joins the match every 2 minutes afterwards. It's basically War Games, but there's 3 teams and there's no cage.
Yeah, single ring, blah, blah, blah.
But
this is what I was about to make sure you let us know, because they talked about it throughout the show.
Eliminations can occur at any time by pin, submission, knockout, or throwing someone over the top rope.
Bit of rumble.
So basically, the Final Four match that we just watched in WWF. With the last team standing, obviously winning the match.
And
there's also some stipulations.
That's what I was looking for.
If Team NWO wins, they can get a title match at any time that they want. If WCW wins...
How much do you hate that? That stinks.
I mean, they already get a title match anytime they want, really. So
I hate it, but continue.
WCW wins. Everyone in the NWO is banned for 3 years, and they lose all their titles.
36 months. I was like, love it, but now you're just telegraphing like that they won't win. Was my feeling.
Yeah. Like if you'd said
3 years.
If you'd said 6 months.
Yeah, 3 years is
3
crazy.
months.
3
Maybe
months.
if you'd said 3 months and they lose all their belts.
3 months.
Or just they lose all their belts.
Yeah, 3 months they go on vacation and you like maybe build a couple people up. Can't hurt.
And if Team Piper wins, Roddy would get a cage match with Hogan.
I mean, and that's what we all want.
Yes.
That's what everybody's pulling for.
But also, you might be asking, hey, wait a second. We just watched that Nitro, and then there was only going to be 2 teams. How did Piper's team get in this mix? Well, Turner Sports president Harvey Schiller would appear, saying that the board of directors had had enough of Bischoff's antics, suspending him, allowing Schiller to reverse some of the decisions, rehiring Randy Anderson, I think a couple other people that had been fired.
Yeah. The whole belt issue really, the tag belt issue was like we've had this is too much.
Yeah.
We gotta draw the line somewhere.
But he also added Roddy Piper and a team of his choosing to the match. Now Roddy, like this storyline was like
hot-shotted.
hilarious actually.
Okay.
So Roddy held some tryouts, which consisted of basically some random nobodies and a returning John Tenta, which is, if you noticed, if you were on the network, he is on the graphic.
Oh, I did not catch that. Must have my head down taking notes.
And Piper would choose Tenta, a former boxer named Greg Molly, and a former kickboxer named Leighton Morrison. And pretty sure those 2 guys are basically just actors, like stunt actors.
Yeah.
They weren't wrestlers at all.
Yeah, they were probably like, athletic looking, but not trained in the ring.
Luckily, WCW figured out real quick that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, those 2 guys weren't going to be able to pull anything off.
So the Horsemen then offered their services, with Roddy thinking that he was going to get Flair and Arn. But in reality,
they're both hurt.
They're hurt, so it's the other 3.
Yeah, which is like Roddy has worked all over the place, but he was never around in like prime. Like he was aware of prime Horseman era. We've gone through so many Horsemen at this point. The Horseman name isn't quite as strong as it once was. And he's got questions about these people.
So the match gets going with Benoit, Hall, and the Giant as our first 3. And the big man takes his time getting into the ring, allowing the other 2 to fight among themselves, with Scott hitting a fallaway slam, but the Crippler comes right back with a clothesline. And the Giant finally makes it inside the ring and double clotheslines both men down. Nails a double noggin knocker and chops, completely dominating.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to see.
Just shoving his opponents off anytime they seem to slow the momentum. Hall would jump on his back with a sleeper, but the Giant just reaches up to pull him over, followed by a choke slam on Benoit. Goes for the cover, only for Scott to break it up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, it's like,
But,
I guess I think if you want to reach, you could say that, well, if Chris is in there, then it's not me versus the Giant for the next minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever. So that kind of takes a little bit of heat off of your back, considering the Giant is so large and he's coming in here like it's a goddamn hot tag. Mm-hmm. But that's me creating logic.
Exactly.
That is not really a given in what most people... The logic you get from just watching wrestling over and over.
The Giant then locks on the claw before shoving Hall into a corner, charging in with a splash. But Scott moves, causing the big man to tumble over the top rope to be eliminated.
Damn. So now, Team WCW only has 3 guys, and the biggest one is the first guy out.
Big dumbass.
And 5 minutes is
Damn
up,
it, Paul.
and out comes Double J, Macho Man, and Lex to join the fray. With Jarrett hitting a swinging neckbreaker and a running straddle on Hall, followed by a dropkick to Savage. And Luger hits the ring and press slams Double J and Macho Man, while everybody else sprawls away for the next 2 minutes. When Mongo, Kevin, and Steiner now come to the ring, with Nash immediately nailing snake eyes on Jarrett. Followed by Steiner press slamming Benoit, a tilt-a-whirl slam on Double J, and a Tiger Bomb on Hall.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Scott Steiner fucking rules. Just coming in here dropping fucking big boy moves back to back to back. Love to see it.
Kevin attacks Steiner from behind, but he runs into a big boot in the corner, allowing Steiner to deliver a belly-to-belly suplex, followed by one to Savage as well. And Hall goes for the outsider's edge on Jarrett, but the crippler yanks him down to make the save, only for Nash to hit a big boot and a clothesline that sends Double J over the ropes to be eliminated.
Dun, dun, dun.
And Kevin then nails a side slam to Steiner when McMichael goes for a pile driver on Hall, but it's countered into a back body drop, sending Mongo over the ropes to the floor to be eliminated as well.
Damn. There go a couple of horsemen.
Another 2 minutes has ended, and out comes Roddy, as Steiner is worked over by the NWO, crotching him on a turnbuckle before Nash delivers a big boot to send Steiner crashing out to the floor to be eliminated as well. And everybody's brawling away when Hollywood and Rodman, with the can of spray paint in hand, make their way out, as Piper takes Macho out to the floor to choke with a chain. And Hogan finally decides to join the match, choking Roddy with a t-shirt before tossing him through the ropes, where Piper drags Hollywood out to the floor to brawl as the crowd chants, "We want Sting! We want Sting!" Hollywood tries to go into the crowd to escape Roddy's grasp when Savage comes to save him. And back inside the ring, Piper has Hogan in a headlock, with Hollywood tossing him off into the ropes to escape, when Rodman would pull the top rope down, sending Roddy crashing out to the floor to be eliminated.
Oh my god. This is when I, just got... all hope was lost in this moment.
And Piper looks to go after Dennis, but police are right there to prevent him from attacking Rodman, followed by Hogan and Macho coming out to beat on Roddy some more. Now in the ring, Hall nails the outsider's edge on Benoit, followed by the outsiders just throwing him over the ropes to be eliminated.
Chris Benoit lasting the longest.
Leaving us with Lex Luger versus the NWO. Does it sound familiar to any other pay-per-views
It sounds
we've had?
so familiar that when it happened, I was like, all right.
Nice setup.
Man, cute callback, but where do we go from here?
And Luger's being worked over until he begins delivering clotheslines to everyone, getting Savage up in the torture rack for the submission and elimination.
Love to see it.
Lex then hits a clothesline on Nash to send him over the top rope to be eliminated,
Love to see it.
followed by a torture rack on Hall to be submitted and eliminated.
And the fact that Hall submitted makes everything so much sweeter.
Now as Luger gets Hollywood up in the rack, Kevin grabs the ref, allowing Macho to run in, bashing Lex in the face with a spray paint can, causing them to collapse with Hogan on top for the pin and the win. Post-match, the NWO celebrates in the ring, spray painting Luger and even allowing Rodman to get a few slaps in before they begin to leave. All of a sudden, Sting rappels down from the ceiling, landing in the ring, which brings the outsiders back in to confront him, only for him to use his baseball bat on them. Macho runs in and he gets a scorpion death drop, followed by giving Hall and Nash one as well. The Stinger grabs his bat and points it at Hollywood, who pretends like he wants to fight, but doesn't enter the ring until the bat is dropped. And Sting grants his wish and even turns his back, as Rodman rubs Hogan's shoulders to hype him up. Hollywood enters the ring and approaches the Stinger from behind, only for him to turn in time to punch Hogan, followed by a scorpion death drop, as Tony says his goodbyes and we're out of time as we go to credits. So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Uncensored 1997.
Not the most painful Uncensored we've watched, but I don't know if anything truly felt like it meant anything. With the exception of Sting showing up, which the crowd wanted. It's a good send him home happy. It's kind of intelligent considering that's going to be the memorable thing at the end of a mediocre show. I think that, justice for Piper. Come on. I know Piper is old, and having Sting show up at the end kind of just, it's like putting a glossy finish on, I don't know that I'd call it a turd, but
turd adjacent.
Yeah, you're putting salt and pepper on a mediocre meal. Maybe a little bit of hot sauce. You don't need hot sauce if the food is cooked correctly.
Yeah, this show I didn't care for that much. I haven't really had that. I don't know if there's been an Uncensored that I've enjoyed yet, but this one might be my least favorite of them so far because it just seemed, like you said, nothing really mattered. Nothing really came about. It was just there.
I think the thing that makes this pretty watchable is the things like Psychosis and Ultimo Dragon, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and I don't think it's any of these guys' best matches, but they're good matches, and even Ray and Iaukea. But those are the things, because on Uncensored 1, Uncensored 2, you're getting Duggan matches on Uncensored, and they're even more gimmicky.
They are, but these ones you have a point. They have those couple of matches, but
they still don't feel very important.
This show was where it started really standing out to me. And you'll hear the wrestlers themselves bitching about it down the line, that all they did during those matches was talk about the NWO or what's happening with Steiners or any of that. They didn't really care. They didn't have the title right on one of the matches.
Yeah, and it's these guys
That's how important those matches are to the people that are running the show.
Yeah. I think the guys are putting in good work, and it's if you kind of focused on them a little bit more. It's different inside the ring,
no,
but most people are watching this.
The last time you had, was it Eddie and
Malenko
in the ring, or was it Malenko and Benoit? But they got booed because the audience didn't know how to accept them, or
couldn't
Eddie appreciate
and
them.
Jericho.
Was that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think Jericho. Benoit, Malenko, and Eddie are more over than Jericho at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Same with, obviously, Ray. But, it's those guys, Jericho's, on the lower... Not necessarily, that he's a lesser wrestler, but he is not as ingratiated by the fans at this point. They haven't seen him as much, and he hasn't had as many pay-per-view matches and whatnot. His last pay-per-view match that I remember was against Masahiro Chono, and it was horrific. Which is wild that it was bad, but it was... NWO sold out. I didn't even want to say it. I need to brush my teeth now.
So, this show has some memorable moments and parts that I liked, but it's a very weak showing overall for WCW. But it is the best Uncensored that we have watched.
I think so.
The previous year, the main event was the Doomsday Cage match.
Which one was that?
The triple cage.
Oh, that's right.
That made no sense.
Was horrible. And it was a leather strap match between Hogan and Vader.
Ugh.
In the first year, and that's the one with the King of the Road match.
That's right.
Overall, this is a better show than
better
those
wrestling
two.
on it.
Maybe it's because we had a better Halloween Havoc this year or last year, so
Still not a great showing by them.
Yeah.
The bar is very low when you can say that this show is better than other Uncensoreds. But there are some moments that are there. Because, WCW, this ending of Sting rappelling from the ceiling, it gets over so well.
So that's all you get.
That literally WCW just starts doing this, every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the ending to every episode of Nitro, every I don't know if it's every ending of every pay-per-view from now on, but I'm sure it's probably
close.
pretty close.
Yeah, what stinks is, like, I love that the Sting thing was hot. That's cool. I understand. But how much better would we have enjoyed it? And maybe, like, historically, it would have been better if Piper wins and we have a cage match later, or if Lex wins and they go away for, like, 3 months, or maybe they don't have matches, but they get some heat by fucking around, which I don't love, but maybe it makes them, maybe people start booing them because people are still wearing the shirts, but they're not necessarily in love with the NWO either. Like, people don't know what they fucking want or like, it feels like.
I mean, they're cool heels.
Yeah. I'd say I hate a cool heel, but that's not true. I just hate these ones.
I enjoy a cool heel, but these,
these
guys wore their cool heel down fast.
Yeah, I was a big, I do love a cool heel. I love Ric Flair. Even recently, was a big fan of Jay White pre-pandemic in New Japan. Was a big fan of MJF's, like, heel run in AEW before he's in everything. Yeah, Matt's rocking the Jay White shirt right now.
I got 2 words for you. Guns up.
Guns up, brother.
I was like, Switchblade is one word, isn't it?
Yeah, he's doing the bang bang gang thing at the moment, but he is the Switchblade. But yeah.
Yeah,
Is this show a gentleman's?
I'm not a fan.
A gentleman's 6 out of 10, or is it a even 5? Is it a 4.5? It's in those. It's
probably a 5.
It's in that range. Yeah, like, it's not the most offensive thing. I didn't have a hard time watching it, but none of us gloated over anything here.
No.
There are no short lists on this show. There could
actually, if the ending of the first match isn't
the NWO ruined it.
Isn't
Ruined.
6.
Yeah.
That match was headed towards
Yeah.
towards it.
And that was the real shining moment of, this is what all those guys bitched about all those years, because this is an awesome match, and they just pissed all over it so they could talk about the NWO and the Steiners.
And the thing is, like, if one of those two guys won, it means something. And when somebody gets in the way and somebody wins because of nefarious means, it doesn't mean as much, especially when it is your, like, mid-card or juniors. Like, guys need like legitimate sports-based wins when they're doing matches that are that athletic. You don't need that in a Hogan Piper match.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
That first match until 6, because like we all agree, it was actually a fun match.
I mean, that's what we want to see.
Yeah,
like,
generally
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will say that it was nice to see as a guy who doesn't know the technical ins and outs of wrestling, it was nice to see a noticeable difference and level up of Prince Iaukea in ring. It's like, oh, the last match we saw him in was good, but he's gotten obviously better. He's in there with a great opponent, but they've pretty much kept him with great opponents and different kinds of opponents, and I think it's caused him to get better quicker. You also put a belt on a young guy, like he's not phoning it in. He's not ready for that belt or any belt, but he's not phoning it in. And if he had a little bit of a personality or another 6 months as in ring, maybe people will be behind him having the belt.
DDP, snap into this, bang.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that line.
I mean, the whole
the angle.
The best promos on this show is the Macho Man DDP stuff. Like the team. Well, I guess Piper's was pretty good,
but it's
like
Roddy Piper. He's like above everybody
but both
all the time when it comes to
NWO,
that.
like I'll admit right now, the disappointment is the NWO and WCW promos were just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But back to best moments. The editing on the car crash.
I mean, give me a break. I don't know who directed that or who cut that or edited
Sean Waldman,
that.
what are you talking about?
It was just done so well. I was like truly taken aback at how how good it was, because we don't normally get that with those kind of like staged vignettes, and then they fucking flipped the car.
Yeah,
that couldn't have been cheap. As a stuntman, did they put a fucking brick on the fucking gas pedal and tie it off? But it was just edited so well. It was smooth.
Dusty during the Texas Tornado match.
I mean,
it was the only thing that made that match tolerable.
Yeah.
I said that a while ago, but
I do think it was a better WCW garbage match than we've seen in a
agree with
while.
that.
But at the same time, I mean, how many garbage matches have we watched?
A lot, because we watch ECW.
Exactly. And I think this one, was better than a lot of the ECW ones we watched, because it's confined to being a Ted Turner product. There's things they can't do, so they are forced to do some things that are like more creative or more rooted in like traditional wrestling. Not necessarily moves, but psychology.
How about most disappointing? I mean, like I mentioned, the two team promos from WCW and NWO.
I mean, for me,
especially the NWO one was just completely just weird, and like none of those guys were on top of their game on that during that.
For me, it was that I had my hopes up that NWO wouldn't win tonight, and I should have known better. But I think that the main event did a good job of sowing those seeds of doubt. And
literally, if they don't do 36 months, like just take the belts away from them.
If they didn't do 36 months, I would have been even higher on when Lex starts taking guys out. I'm fucking pumped, and then I remember 36 months, and I'm like, shit. And then, of course, before that, Piper gets thrown out. For best case scenario is Piper wins. We get Piper and Hogan in a cage. And I knew 36 months wasn't a thing, but I was legitimately jazzed up when Lex started taking everyone out. And it made him look big and strong and awesome.
I'm going to give you a spoiler for the next pay-per-view. Small spoiler, but the title shot that they use with this win is Macho Man versus Prince Iaukea.
I mean, I guess that
but
is one
DDP
belt.
Interferes, and so they don't win the belt.
I was going to say that is one belt they don't have, so...
Yeah, but then it sets up DDP. But it sets up DDP and Macho Man further.
Yeah,
but still,
it furthers their. But really, that's that. I'm like, obviously, Savage isn't going to challenge for the heavyweight belt, but I mean, he could have done the United States belt versus Malenko, but during this whole thing, Iaukea doesn't have anybody really, so it's easy to do that. But it's just like, I really feel like Savage could just walk to the ring and go, I want Prince Iaukea, and he could have the match without this stipulation.
Yeah.
Of they can demand this title.
Yeah, Macho Man couldn't challenge for that belt any day of the week because he's the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of a disappointing outcome of this match as well.
Yeah, it's also Macho Man can just get 2 wins over the course of 2 weeks, and it makes him eligible for that.
Yeah.
He can beat Mortis and Glacier.
Go hang out on WCW Saturday night for a couple weeks and win you some matches, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, cool. We'll put him in a package.
We'll give you a title shot.
Yeah, you'll drop an elbow on Mortis and then challenge Prince Iaukea.
Too many gimmick matches. I wish
it's uncensored.
I know it's uncensored, but there doesn't have to be a title for every match. Nobody wants a martial arts match.
But that's
definitely no one
it's
wants that.
the nature of the beast.
I just want you to remember this when we get to Extreme Rules.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me, I bitch about that one. Well, I guess I don't really have it as much anymore, but
I mean, yeah, I'm too many stipulation and gimmick matches in wrestling. now.
How about
today.
best performer of the night?
Ooh,
I think it's Guerrero, because he
starts to heal it up a bit.
Starts to show his lying, cheat, stealing ways.
I mean, he was the one person that like evolved on this show in any way at all.
Yeah.
Outside of like Prince Iaukea just like getting better from wrestling more and wrestling quality wrestlers, but like as far as like character development,
like you wrestling Rey Mysterio and Lord Steven Regal every week,
you're gonna get better.
You're gonna get better.
Yeah, and two completely different styles, but the only like true like character growth from anybody on this show is Eddie Guerrero, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Everyone else kind of stays in the same place. Like Sting, it's not character growth. People are just excited to see him because they want to see the thing that you keep in the shadows.
Yep. But he put hands on people this time.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, last time we saw him, he was getting hugged and standing with the NWO.
Yeah, and now he's pointing bats at him and fucking decking Hogan.
Yep.
How about most surprising?
Piper getting out too early in that match was a bummer. Everybody feels like I talked about how by the end of the second match, we were 47 minutes into this show, and the main event just went so fast. People were just getting fucking yeeted out of the ring left and right. Sometimes that's a good thing when you have a match like this that could have been like 30 minutes, which would have been brutal.
Yeah.
But it's felt a little too quick, which maybe I'll regret saying in the future if we see another match like this that goes too long. But here, it's like, well, you got, like, stars here. And Luger looked great until you took a big dump on him. But it's glad they were gracious enough to let him wipe out the majority of the NWO for a second. It makes him look strong, but whoever looks strong against Hogan, the caveat there being Sting 4 minutes later on the end of the show.
The fact that Elizabeth was a part of that centerfold scandal thing, but the joy that she had on her face while she was doing it, in kind of the sense of, it's not me this time. Suck it, bitch.
Oh, yeah. That is a good point, because she's been so kind of like dead-eyed and just here since she's come back, and nothing for her to do, and then her there with like Randy being like legitimately like the Harley Quinn to his like fucking Joker.
Yep.
She was having fun. I guess that's the other like actual character growth on this show is Elizabeth with any emotion at all, and like she was really good at doing like the slight facials in the Mega Powers a decade ago, but like
she showed a little bit of something while she was in side by side with Woman for that little bit where it was like they were having boy talk. But yeah, this was the first I've seen in a long time with Elizabeth where she looked like she was actually
engaging,
having fun.
Yeah, just engaging in the actual storyline in a real way.
Dean Malenko has been a cruiserweight champion, and now he's a United States champion. Just kind of surprising that WCW had enough faith in him. I mean, which I think is completely warranted.
Yeah, but like for a guy that doesn't have the like energy or charisma of a DDP or even a Chris Benoit or Eddie Guerrero, he's champion. He's the Stone Cold Killer, no pun intended. But yeah, it's like.
But they were willing to put the belt on him, like the second belt in this company, on a guy that. Normally in both WCW and in WWF, like once you're in like the juniors, the light heavyweight, the cruiserweight division, that's it.
There.
That's it. You don't go anywhere else.
Yeah. And here he's like, it's like he's a wrestler's wrestler, a old school wrestling fans like he's a like Jim Crockett, Bill Watts, like generational talent, but of smaller stature, and he's in this company that is sending guys with face paint coming down from the ceiling, holding baseball bats, and your secondary, your the belt under the big belt is on Dean Malenko. I didn't even put it together because the belts those belts no belt seems that important in WCW at the moment outside of the big one, and it's hard to care about it because you kind of feel like it's going to stay in one place.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why. It's just because they don't give a shit.
I mean, it's probably a lot of it.
But I mean,
there's
people who care about Dean Malenko,
there's no NWO stuff going on in this storyline other than 6.
Yeah.
So, but I think the 6 thing is more with Dean and Eddie than it is the belt.
Yeah, for sure. It's more personal than it is about the prize.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
Tito Santana had won the Eastern Championship Wrestling Heavyweight title from Don Morocco a month prior, and was scheduled to be in Roanoke, Virginia on September 9th, 1993, versus Shane Douglas. But Tito no-showed the event, forcing President Todd Gordon to declare Shane the new champion. Shane Douglas, born 1964 in New Brighton, Pennsylvania, as one of 6 children to a veteran of World War II. After college, he would train under Dominic DeNucci alongside Mick Foley in the mid-'80s, working various WWF tapings before becoming a champion in the Universal Wrestling Federation in 1987. By the next year, Shane had signed with WCW, becoming a dynamic dude with John Laurinaitis, feuding with the Midnight Express until 1990, when both members of the tag team left the company. Douglas would debut in WWF later in the year as Marty Jannetty's partner, while Shawn Michaels was out injured. His biggest performance came in the 1991 Royal Rumble, lasting almost 30 minutes. Shane Douglas would return to WCW in late 92, teaming with Ricky Steamboat to win the NWA and WCW World Tag Team Championships, feuding with the Hollywood Blondes, until his departure to Eastern Championship Wrestling, making his debut on August 24th, 1993. For his accomplishments, Shane has been inducted into the Hardcore Hall of Fame. Douglas would defend the title versus All Contenders, when a homicidal maniac would challenge very soon. Next week, WrestleMania 13.
Mania time, y'all.
I mean, come on. I get excited for every single one of them.
Oh, there will be blood.
You only get one a year.
There will be blood.
They're not all great.
There will be blood.
But there's always at least one good match.
There will be blood.
Music from this week's show is Mr. Maniac by Ross Hardy and Brian White. And Hogan stood tall at the end, so we play Rock House by FCD Music. If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. Do as Michael says.
5 stars or no stars.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns,
Where are we headed to next?
Rosemont, Illinois.
Ooh, that's not Philly.
That's Chicago.
Yay.
Right outside Chicago.
Well, hey. Tell me some stuff to eat in Chicago. You should hit us up, slide into our DMs, send us an email, something. And, we're always looking for Philly stuff. We're lucked out this week, lucking out next week, but who knows? Philly's going to pop up sometime soon.
For all we know, the next 3 shows will be ECW.
Oh, don't you put that evil on me.
It's evil on us.
But yeah, hit us up on the old X.
So if you have any of those things, you can hit us up on our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on X at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTO.
X.
We'll talk to you next week.
Laters. Fuck you, Terry.